All right, everybody. Good morning. It is 9:30, and we certainly wouldn't want to get anybody started late this morning, so we are going to definitely be beginning on time. I just wanted to let everyone know that we are in Moving the Needle on Virtual Engagement at CSN, and we sure appreciate your being with us this morning at the NC Student Affairs Summit. My name is Courtney Schmitz, and I'm a communications coordinator at CSN. I'm going to be moderating the session this morning. And as a reminder, please remain muted and have your camera turned off through the duration of the session, unless you're recognized by the presenter to speak. This will help us ensure the audio and the video quality of the meeting. I have started the recording on the meeting, and we will be sending the recordings along with the presentation slides at the conclusion of today's event. If you have any questions, please go ahead and place them in the chat box on the right side of your screen, and we'll do the best to answer them through our time frame that we have allotted. Please send them to everyone, or you can send me just a private chat so that I can then relay that over to our presenter today. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to today's presenter, my colleague, Director of Student Life and Leadership Development at the College of Southern Nevada, Mr. Brian Akins. Brian, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you for the introduction. You should be a game show host or something to that sort. But thank you, and thank you, everyone, all of my friends that I know personally, as well as my colleagues across the state. Thank you for being here and spending the next almost hour with me to talk about moving the needle on virtual engagement. And before I even get into my presentation, I want to say to each of you on this call that your work is definitely appreciated. I value it. I value all of my colleagues all across the state in student affairs. And these past 13 months have been quite the 13 months, to make a long story short. And definitely I want to say your work across your campuses is appreciated. And then also, just as a personal note, definitely take time to regroup, take time for yourself. I imagine that all of our positions got a little bit more complicated over these past 13 months. And don't neglect yourselves and your family. So just keep that in mind as well as we start the presentation on moving the needle on virtual engagement. If you look at the needle, you'll see that it's at zero, like 0 miles per hour. I will say my position, and as well as my colleagues across CSN, our positions, we implemented many things that were in person. We valued, and the students valued, the in-person co-curricular experience. But in mid-March, things changed. Things changed for everyone, where we had to learn how to engage virtually. We did not want our positions, from a professional standpoint, to be seen as invaluable, because the job security is best possible. And so we had to do something. And I want to thank you for spending the next almost hour with me to talk about my department, my office's journey into online virtual engagement. Overview of the presentation. I'll speak very, very briefly about me and some of my goals, as well as some of my passions. After the presenter, after the about me, I'm going to break you guys up into groups to talk just for 3 to 4 minutes amongst each other about some questions that are posed in the slide. We'll look at CSN at a glance, what our fall 2020 population looked like when it comes to a virtual setting. And we'll kind of see how we planned around what our virtual population looks like. We'll see how we kind of cooked up the recipe for virtual success as best we could, and then taking action on the recipe that was input from various constituent groups. We'll talk briefly about how did overall go for this past school year. And then lastly, of course, the big A word, which is assessment. As we are winding down, Friday, May 14th over here at CSN is our last day, but who's counting? We'll talk about some of the assessments, some of the things that we learned, and what we're going to do moving forward as we have a virtual environment and engaging our virtual environment. About the presenter, I am Brian Akins again, he, him, and his pronouns. Student affairs for me is a vocation. I love this field. I really love what I do. I worked in higher education all of my professional career, and then even as an undergraduate, my first jobs were right on campus. I was a federal work study student in the MLK Center at the University of Arizona, and I was also a resident assistant as well And like many of you, I was heavily involved in co-curricular programs at an earlier level or at the undergraduate level, which sparked and brewed my passion. And sure enough, 20 years later, so I'm working full time and doing something that I love. I always share that Los Angeles, California is my home. And I share that because I see myself in many students that are trying to kind of find their place within their institutions. As I see students that are finding their voice on campus, I was an out-of-state student, and I knew that as soon as I got to campus, I wanted to create and feel at home. I'm like, my home is over 8 hours on the bus away or an hour flight, but I was mainly catching the bus due to my fiscal resources limitations. And I wanted to feel more at home on campus. And so I knew that I had to meet friends. I knew that I had to get connected. I knew that this was going to be my place, not for a long time. My goal was to have a good time, not a long time, as the song goes. And so I said, I want to create that type of feel for students that grace any campus that I've ever worked at or been affiliated with. Some of my areas of responsibility here at the College of Southern Nevada is that I oversee all of the student clubs and organizations. Currently, CSN has 31 student clubs and organizations. And just like at many of your institutions, some are very, very active. Some are kind of the middle of the road active. And then some aren't as active, but I'm responsible for all 30 plus of our student organizations. I also oversee student government. And for my colleagues that are here at this presentation, we're all going through, the elections process either now or in the immediate future. And so at CSN, I oversee 18 elected student leaders that are ambassadors for the institution. Also, I oversee CSN Serves, which is our volunteer and service learning opportunity office, where we partner students with different organizations that are seeking volunteers. And so we administer at least one per month. Pre-COVID, I should say, we administered one per month, where myself, and I would say sometimes between a dozen to 20 students would participate in some type of volunteer opportunity within the Las Vegas Valley. And then lastly, our CSN Student Leadership Academy. That's another area that I'm overseeing, and that will come into full fruition this upcoming fall. We had different facets of the CSN Student Leadership Academy throughout the year, but now we're having a full program that we're really, really excited about for the fall. Next slide, Courtney. We will break into our groups, and I am controlling the slides. And amongst yourselves, we want to talk about this journey for the past 13 months. What professional adjustments did you have to implement due to COVID-19? What co-curricular adjustments did your students have to implement due to COVID-19? And then lastly, just amongst yourselves, what's your overall assessment of how things went? Of course, the big A word, how did things go? It's been 13 months. We're hastening to the end of this semester. And what do we have to say for each other, for ourselves, and how we've done for the past 13 months? So Courtney, if you kind of take us away when it comes to breaking into our groups for 3 minutes.
All right, thanks, Brian. The breakout rooms have been opened and people are being asked to join them. So if you haven't moved over yet, you're going to get a message and you'll join that breakout room in which you'll discuss those questions. It looks like we still have just a few people here. If you have a message on your screen, go ahead and click join so that you can get into one of the breakout sessions. And then Brian and I will broadcast those questions to all of the breakout rooms. I can see you now, Brian. Yay.
So what happened? So like before it was just like no, I should.
It was showing the ceiling light. It was like it was
Okay,
too
gotcha.
far down. So it's much better now. I see your face.
Okay, got it. Is Dr. Thomas in?
I don't think so.
And people can hear us?
They should not be able to hear us. They should hear their own room. It looks like there's maybe Karen in our room here, and that's it.
Got it. Okay. Got it. What I'm gonna do, like once we bring everybody back together,
okay.
We'll see if anybody wants to share in the chat or verbally. If one person for each can share verbally, and then if everybody else can just share in the chat. So just one person can just share verbally to any of the questions.
Okay, and do you want me to broadcast a message saying we're going to end momentarily?
Sure, whenever the 3 minutes, was that 3 minutes?
It's about.
Okay, let me plug my, 1 second. You probably can see the ceiling now.
Yep.
When I was talking, like presenting, for people see my face or no?
We saw the ceiling.
Oh, okay. So I'll be sure to reposition my phone.
Yep, that's much better.
Okay, got it.
I'm just saying, just about 30 seconds left.
Okay. And how many people were in? Last I counted, it was like 26.
Oh no, there's like 40 some.
Oh,
and it looks like we have 8 people in this room right now that probably can hear us.
Okay, well, hello to everybody that can hear.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just noticed that. Hi, Ruth. Thank you for joining us.
This is like the behind the scenes of a TV show or something.
Right. All right, Brian, I'm going to go ahead and close all those rooms. Everybody will be coming back. As you come back and you ask for somebody to comment, they may come back muted. So you may have to remind people to unmute their microphones. Okay, closing room. Oh, it says they'll be coming back within 60 seconds. It takes some time to kind of like pull them all back.
Got it.
But I can see people are starting to join us now.
Okay.
I'll let you know, Brian, when I think we have the majority of the people back in the main room.
Alrighty, sounds good.
Okay. All right, Brian, the breakout rooms are closed and it looks like we have the majority of folks back in the room.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. What I would like to do, if anyone is brave enough to take themselves off of mute, just chime in, just one person per each question. What are some professional adjustments that you had to implement due to COVID-19? Just anyone brave to take themselves off of mute. Go right ahead and say your name and who you are.
My name is James Archibald. I'm with UNLV Upper Bound.
All righty. Thank you, James.
I just say in my personal experience, is just having to get familiar with Zoom and Google Meet.
Okay.
Yeah, and just learning how they work. Google Meet took me a quick second to get used to. Zoom was really easy.
Mm-hmm. Of course, of course.
Those are some of the adjustments right there for starters. Learning how to services electronically, attaching emails for starters. The technical aspects of it is what I had to adjust to.
I understand. I definitely understand. And thank you for sharing, James. I know that was something that was definitely voiced by many of the staff here at CSN, was adjusting to virtual advising, virtual programming, virtually teaching. So yes, that's definitely one of the adjustments that people had to make. Thank you for sharing. Is there anyone that
problem.
wants to take question number 2? What co-curricular adjustments did your students have to implement due to COVID-19? Just one person brave enough to share and take themselves off of mute. Others, feel free to chime into the chat if they don't feel comfortable talking, but definitely chime into the chat. But if there's one person, I see a couple students on here as well, and they're welcome to chime in as well.
Hi, Brian. This is Nikki.
Hey,
Doing a
ahead,
great
Nikki.
job. So one of the things, I'm always going to be here to support you. One of the things that I would say about, students is that, what I shared in our group is that, students are used to using text and not really using their social skills. And when you're meeting in a Teams or Zoom or Google Meets environment, they have to talk. It can't chat. You have to really express to us how we can really help you. And I think that has been a different adjustment because, millennials, they're not used to having social conversation, everything social media and different things like that. So I think that has been the biggest adjustment is that, some students have had to learn how to really communicate. And one more thing I'll share with, I shared in our group that when we had our virtual career fair, that was one of the things that one of our employers had reached back to us and said, students have never had to really deal with people on a one-on-one. They're used to texting and things like that. And she said none of the students signed up for the one-on-one sessions. Everyone signed up for the group sessions. So I think that has been one of the biggest adjustments. Thanks, Brian.
No problem. Thank you for sharing, Nikki. And anyone else, overall assessment, and feel free to type into the chat and Courtney just monitor some of the answers. Overall, how did things go? We're all winding down to the end of the semester. I will say that I prefer that COVID goes away and we can transition back to full on-campus environment. But how did we do in our year, just over a year, calendar year?
I'd like to jump in if I could. This is Henderson Campus Senator Zachary Jonigan from the student government. And I wish I could say better, but my overall assessment of how things went adjusting to virtual was quite negative, considering that we have over 28,000 students. Most of our virtual events had a show up of only about 8 to 10 students per virtual meeting. I feel like those numbers could have been a lot higher. I don't know if it's any part of our own because all of our people, we worked very hard on all of our events. We did everything that we could to promote. We did everything we could do to get the word out there, but the show up and the turnout just wasn't what we were hoping for.
And definitely thank you for sharing that, Zachary. As we share, and like I said, for the presentation, we wanted to move the needle just a little bit. And for 1 year, we had definitely some successes, and we did have areas of improvement as we come to the end of the year with our SWOT analysis. March 2020 for us, CSN campus is closed. Off-campus initiatives ceased. No more for me going to, say, 3 Square and organizing a volunteer opportunity. No more having programs off campus or things of that sort. Classrooms immediately transitioned to remote learning. Campus offices immediately transitioned to home offices like many of us are at right now. And then also my area previously with the Student Emergency Fund, the assistance requests increased. People were really, really affected by what was going on with COVID. And so, people lost their jobs, people fell behind on their rent and utilities and things of that sort. So the request for assistance increased due to COVID. CSN student profile, this is just for the fall semester. We have a total of 31,553 students that were enrolled, but 75%, as the chart shows, were online. So just over 23, or just under 23,700 of our students were completely online. No coming to campus, no utilizing, at the time, the library. Computer labs had to be ceased to a certain extent. That on-campus presence, there was a void for that, as Zachary shared. And so we had to do something about it. And so in doing something about it, we said, hey, a couple of things that we need to do is talk with our campus colleagues. Just because student life and leadership development, we realize that we're bigger, or it's bigger than just us. Our colleagues in the first year experience, colleagues in career and transfer, diversity, equity, and inclusion, campus life, we're all going through it. We all, as well as the rest of the campus as well. So we realize that, hey, our jobs don't stop solely because of COVID-19. And all of you on the call realize, you know what, hey, it's COVID-19. We understand there might be a dip in enrollment and things of that sort, but our jobs don't cease. Had to collaborate with the student leaders to say, okay, hey, look, what can we do? It's COVID-19. We can't be on campus. A lot of the vibrant campus life that you would see is going to be non-existent. We don't know how long it's going to be non-existent, but what can we do virtually to be successful? The next and one thing that we've discussed was the acronym KISS, which is Keep It Simple, Silly. I'm calling myself silly, so some of you use a different word for S, but keep it simple, silly. Like, don't do too much. You realize, as Zachary stated, that it is COVID. There will be an adjustment for everyone, so just keep that in mind. Set up goals. We say, you know what, hey, we're going from zero. We have had zero online engagement co-curricular activities. We say, you know, hey, for the first year, let's shoot for 20. If we can get 20 students participating in an actual program where they're logged in for CSN, it's either Microsoft Teams or WebEx. I know some classrooms use Zoom, but we said, hey, we want 20 students. We also said, okay, hey, we have to beef up our online presence. At the time, we said, you know, hey, is it reasonable that we can get 200 more students following us and following our partners to see exactly what's going on our campus? And then lastly, the goal was to set up a monthly think tank with student leaders. That was somewhat easy because we have a monthly meeting with our registered student clubs and organizations, and some will send just one representative, some will send, you know, 3 or 4, or many of their members or their e-board. And so we said that would be kind of easy, but we definitely want their input. We definitely want to see what they have to say and any ideas that they have, because they're the ones that are fully in the trenches as a student that wants to be engaged or that was previously engaged. But now, due to COVID-19, they're not engaged as much as they'd like to be. And so we wanted to move that needle from zero. And in talking with the student leaders, I said, you know, hey, we want programming success. We want a virtual programming success. So what happened on campus to make you say, you know what, Mr. Bryant, this is why I'm attending a campus life program. This is why I'm attending a career and transfer program. And so they came up with these 6 recipes for success in the virtual fashion, or why they came to our programs on campus. First one is food. As we all know, food can be a draw. When we were students, and guess what? Times have not changed. Students will show up for 2 slices of pizza and a canned beverage. And they said, you know what, hey, that's one of the reasons why we go to your programs that are on campus. We also like your programs that are on campus due to some of the prizes. You guys have really good prizes. They are cool. They are awesome. I love the t-shirts. I love the sports bottle and other swag items. And I know that I have a pretty good chance to win one or obtain something. So I show up also because of the prizes. Students also attended for the fame and the notoriety. When student life and leadership development, when we'd highlight a certain student or highlight a certain group online on our Instagram or on Facebook, they kind of like, you know, said, yeah, you know, I'm, you know, Joe Simmons and I won I'm recognized as student of the week or so on and so forth. It's like, you know, hey, and follow me at Joe Simmons at Twitter or Instagram and things of that sort. And they knew that our pages would receive enough traffic that people would say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go follow Joe Simmons. He won for he was recognized for student life and leadership development. There's his Twitter handle, there's his Instagram handle. I'm gonna go ahead and follow him. So students really enjoyed that and really wanted to see their names in the paper, so to speak, or virtual papers. They also liked the certificates that they could obtain by participating in a leadership workshop or a campus life workshop and things of that sort, or any kind of recognition that would add to their co-curricular experience. So for us, we saw that the students are consistently asking about, okay, where's my transcript? Or not my transcript, but where's my certificate of attendance, my certificate of completion? So that was another reason why people would show up for the programs that were on campus. And then lastly, people would attend our programs on campus because their student club or organization was involved. It's like, you know what? Let me come because you know what, all the members of the International Student Organization are going to be there, or the Electronic Genesis Gaming Club are going to be there. So let's show up and represent my student organization. National Society of Leadership and Success as well, and are amongst our other of our just over 30 organizations say, you know what, if my organization is going to be there, I have to be represented. We have to make a good showing. So that's why people would come to the programs on campus. And so we took these 6 elements and said, okay, let's bring it to the virtual environment and let's see how it goes. Program number 1, we were having an ASCSN clubs and organizations virtual engagement week. Prizes, $250 in seed money for your student organization, just for taking a picture. Interaction, you're interacting with your fellow clubs across campus. You're beefing up that competition. And then also the judges for each of our virtual events were student government members from across the country or down the street, like Nevada State College. They've judged, their student government has judged multiple of our engagement week opportunities. The notoriety and fame. I can't emphasize that enough, how with honor, students look forward to being recognized for, or their organizations look forward to being recognized for winning the virtual engagement week day or week and things of that sort. And so we mixed it all up and said, okay, hey, we got prizes, check. Interaction, check. Notoriety and fame, and their version of fame, check. Clubs and organizations involvement. And so if you look at the flyer, what the student organizations will have to do is simply take a picture, insert the hashtag, and the winners of it would receive $250 in seed money for their student organization. Of the 30 plus student organizations, we had 16 organizations participate. And for each day of the challenge, we had over 10, we had a top 10 finalists, top 10 final pictures for each picture. And then a neutral judge from, say, Nevada State College or Salt Lake Community College in Salt Lake City, Utah, Austin Community College, their student governments would choose each day who would be the winner. So it sounded simple enough. We said, let's give it a try. And we were very successful with that. Of the 30 organizations plus organizations we had, 16 of them participated. 16 organizations participated. Multiple members of the organization could submit a photo for each of them. And so here's just some of the pictures of some of the winners. And like I said, the categories are Empty Las Vegas Challenge, just to take a picture that encapsulates how empty Las Vegas is right now. Quarantining with my pet, just a photo challenge, just you and your pet quarantining together. Day 3, quarantine or chill photo challenge. Day 4, your virtual classroom, what it looks like. And then lastly, day 5, which was back in the day photo challenge. So back in the day when people were on campus, having fun, having these virtual programs and things, or these in-person programs and things of that sort. And so here are a picture of just a couple of the winners. As you can see, they're representing their organizations very well. They love their picture being on Instagram, as well as Twitter, Facebook as well, because we advertise via these social media sites. And once they saw their pictures and their organization saw their pictures, it's like, oh my gosh, we have to participate. Let's try to win $250 in seed money for our student organization. So for that one, it went really, really well. And so we can't complain about it. And so we said, hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Let's try to continue to get the student involvement. Let's have these different challenges. Let's have these different opportunities where we can engage with our virtual audience. Some of you may remember in the spring, there was a big challenge around the internet called the Bill Clinton Challenge. And so it was gaining lots of popularity. And so we said, hey, let's try it. Check. Notoriety and fame. I can't emphasize how much our students like being recognized on Instagram, on Twitter, as well as Facebook. If I were to say, you know what, Brian Akins, this is where you can follow me at Twitter, or I don't have a Twitter, but Instagram or Facebook, people were on it. They valued the interaction. And of course, I got my student clubs and organizations involved in the challenge. So it went well. Students would submit something based upon each day. So like, for example, Monday, May 4th, choose whatever albums Bill Clinton is listening to. Day 2, the 4 hip hop and R&B albums Bill Clinton should listen to. Day 3, the pop albums. classic rock albums for day 4, and then 4 80s albums that Bill Clinton should listen to. I'm not sure if everybody saw this challenge or was familiar with this challenge across the internet this spring. And so we put it out there to the students. Of course, the student organizations jumped on it and participated. And for this challenge, like I said, we had it every single day. We had over 10 each day that submitted that were in the top 10. And then we had someone choose which one was the best for each day. And like I said, the person that chose was a neutral student government across the country. And that also gained lots of notoriety because many of the student governments from across the country continue to participate in our challenges and act as judges and things of that sort. Third one, the photo challenge. And one thing that we saw is students, we've received more success when it came to some of the more low energy types of programs where, I don't have to show up and turn my camera on, but I'll definitely take a picture. I'll definitely participate in the competition. You guys give away really good prizes. And so I'm definitely want to participate in that. But when it comes to being in person and things of that sort, I'm going to shy away from. Actually, some of ours went really, really well. And then others didn't go as well and received the turnouts of maybe 8 to 10 students that Zachary stated. But for this one, another challenge. Prizes, like I said, that's all part of the recipe for moving that needle on virtual engagement. So we had, we get awarded a CSN bookstore voucher in the amount of $150. Second place was $75 CSN bookstore voucher. Third place was a $25 CSN bookstore voucher. All you have to do.
Oh, we have lost Brian. Let me see if we still have Brian's screen sharing. We just don't have his voice. See if we can get him back. All right, Brian is jumping back in. We should have him online in just a moment. Okay, I'm going to share Brian's presentation and hopefully everyone can see where we were at with the ASCSN photo challenge. As soon as Brian comes back on, I'm sure he'll be able to jump right back in here. But as far as the seasonal photo challenge came, this happened in November and early December. And we were asking students to do the same sorts of things where they were submitting with a hashtag. This one was ASCSN season. And they were asked to post their pictures based on the theme. And so once again, we had lots of good interactions with students posting on Instagram and then commenting on various kinds of posts that others had. And there are a couple of the winners. We have some folks getting cozy with their dogs, and we see people outside, and we had students who submitted with their blankets and their patio furniture, and we had lots of good interaction with students. who were able to post and then comment on others. And so that's really where that interaction is able to come from. So we had some success with this, as Brian was saying. We didn't always have 50 people in a meeting, but we oftentimes would have 50 folks submitting photos and commenting. And so there was that interaction. And of course, when it's tied to prize money, that's always a good thing as well. Brian, are you back?
I am back. Can you hear me successfully?
I can hear you, and I've got control of the screen. So if you just want to tell me when to share, I will go ahead and keep sharing.
Sure, for sure. You can continue. Thank you. And I apologize. Thank you for your patience. We also, Courtney was sharing, we really beefed up the competition and the prizes, and we ended up saving lots of funding due to, some of the events that we would have in person. We had to pay for spaces and things of that sort, and materials. We really saved that and dedicated it back to the students in the form of prizes, such as as a bookstore, and also was very helpful when it came to students being able to continue their education. Where it's like, hey, a couple books that I couldn't afford or had to use via the library or things of that sort, now I can purchase them and other materials on my own due to participating in our virtual engagement opportunities. And we found lots of success. Students, we easily received per day, easily over 40, at least 20 to 30 submissions each day from students hopeful to obtain that CSN bookstore voucher and say, hey, not only obtaining the prize, but also the fame and notoriety. I can't emphasize enough how much our students love being recognized on our Instagram pages, as well as our Facebook pages, and then also in publications across campus and different newsletters and things of that sort. And then the interaction, other student governments from across the country and down the road, such as Nevada State, interacted with us via our Instagram page and some of our challenges. And so that went really, really well. Courtney, can you go to the next slide, please? That shows what some of them are. And this was arguably our most successful virtual engagement opportunities, which was Say What You Mean. And there were 5 questions that we asked the students to kind of create a meme, or just to create a meme about. And one of them was, as you see, getting randomly called on to answer a question from your professor. Believe it or not, I thought this one was the funniest, but Palm Beach State College in Florida thought differently. Just the cutting of the cord when the professor asked them a question. How do you feel when you ace a test? Me giving my undivided attention in class. And like I said, we received many, easily each day of the competition, over 20 to 30, some as high as maybe in the late 40s for participating in the competitions. Next slide, please. But also I want to say all of our activities weren't all fun and games per se, just fun and competition and things of that sort. We had lots of activities, other activities that were heavily attended due to, of course, prizes, and then due to lots of great discussion. Our club rush or our club fair at other institutions was held virtually online. We had just over 50 students that participated. That went pretty much better than we expected, but it went really, really well. We had a trivia contest for African American Heritage Month. We had the competitions at 12, which, like I said, which is definitely a part of the recipe. The competitions, the opportunity to win a prize, $250 CSN bookstore voucher for the winners. And we had 3 competitions for that day. And then others, the one on the far right, which was after the inauguration event. And for that event, we had just about 100 students in attendance virtually, CSN students as well as faculty and staff in attendance. We originally had the program titled After the Election, but as you know, there was no president decided after the election. And so we pushed that program back another month until we said, okay, there wasn't another president officially in office at that time. And so we switched that program to the day after the inauguration, where our students came together to speak about just how they're feeling, feelings of optimism, anger, glee, frustration, or even pessimism concerning our nation's future. We had great discussion about how the students were feeling from that. And from that presentation, we learned that students want to have more of the cutting edge and I guess topics that aren't being discussed in the classroom. So we learned that from that presentation. We can go to the next slide, please. And then also, like I said, we had fun. We had lots of fun. Super Smash Brothers tournament. That went really well. We had well over 100 students sign up. However, we saw that many of our students, just over 30, maybe just about 40 rather, actually had a Nintendo Switch, but we wanted to have the competition. It went really, really well. So we had a tournament amongst about 30 students that showed up on the day to participate. But again, the winner for that received a CSN bookstore voucher, and they also represented CSN to play against Salt Lake Community College, who we became closer to due to our previous them judging some of our previous activities and events. So we ended up having a competition against them. That one was very, very well attended. And even for the competition, we ended up winning. We've had 7 students out of 10, seven students placed in the top 10 of that competition against Salt Lake Community College. And again, as you see the flyers to the right, we had a virtual Halloween contest specifically for our student clubs and organizations. The student clubs and organizations showed up and heavily participated in that. They could win up to $250 in seed money. Second place received $150 in seed money, and third place received $100 in seed money. So that whole prizes recipe to success we had to mix in. And then also, like I said, international, excuse me, International Education Week global kickoff. We partnered with our colleagues in the first year experience, and we had a competition. We see that our students liked competition. And so every 20 minutes, we had a new game, 10 questions. And excuse me. And the students, this was for individual students. So whomever won was able to keep the seed money or not seed money, but actual CSN bookstore voucher. Next slide, please. Year-end assessment. And I see I have time, so I'm going to hasten to a close, especially as I'm coughing. Goals of student attendance met. We wanted more than 0. Some of we stuck to what we knew, which was the competitions, the prizes, student clubs and organization interaction. However, where we didn't do well is some of the programs that required, you to turn off your camera, participate in somewhat of a learning style of presentation and things of that sort. Depending on the topic, the students didn't really want to participate, and we received, 8 to 10. And it wasn't due to lack of marketing or presentations and things of that sort. We just need to do a better job of assessing what our students really want to be in person and show up to attend. Arguably, some of our events, if they were on campus and we had pizza and beverages or tacos and things of that sort that we've seen success, many students may have attended. But when it came to the online population of programs like that, we didn't receive the success that we were hoping to receive. Strengths, we got better when it came to our online presence. We had more people following us. We had more students participating in some of the photo challenge that were low energy. But the weaknesses of that, and compared to the campus enrollment, our numbers were, I won't say dismal, but when it comes to compared to the campus enrollment, it's not, it was kind of poor. But if we had, 50, 60 students at an event when we were on campus, we were hoping to receive, just about half of that. And arguably, like in my assessment and talking with the student club and organization leaders and other student leaders, they said, hey, the draw for attending the program is the prize and the pizza or food or things of that sort. So that's something that we have to take into consideration in upcoming school years. But again, if you have a program and 100 people are virtually attending compared to an enrollment of 23,700 students that are online, it's like, okay, we have to do a little bit better. But 100 in person, like we take that, but that's less than 1% of the student population. So that's something that we need to consider. Lastly, reaching out more to the online opportunity, more to our online population, something that we need to do better. And then lastly, the threat, as we wrap up, was possible compensation and reporting. We had students, as some of you know, and I didn't know until this school year, that if you say you receive $500 CSN bookstore voucher, you have to report that when it comes to financial aid, that hey, that can affect your estimated family contribution. It's not just like you just won a competition, so here's $250 in a CSN bookstore voucher. You have to report that. And so for some students that deterred them But for others, it was like, okay, you know what? I need that bookstore voucher. I don't have my books, and it's the second week of class and things of that sort. But that's something that could curb online presence and participation. If you're like, okay, yeah, if I win, I got to report it to financial aid, and for me, every dollar counts. So that's just something that we had to work through for the school year. And then lastly, we're very happy to announce, next slide and final slide, Courtney, we started off with just over 500 followers on Instagram, but for the school year, due to our beefing up our online presence and virtual presence, we have over 1,000 followers on Instagram. 500, like just under 500 rather, for the school year that we gained in CSN students and other people that are invested in CSN, the co-curricular process. So that's just what our year looked like, our past 13 months looked like when it came to virtual engagement. We moved the needle just a little bit. We want to do more, of course, just like everyone else, but for a year that was just sprung upon us, I think we did solid, but definitely lots of room for improvement. Courtney, I'm not sure if there are any questions in the chat that I can answer or that others can answer, or maybe in the last 4 to 5 minutes, they can share about their experience on their campuses when it comes to beefing up the virtual engagement world.
Yeah, Brian, there is a question, a comment in our chat, just saying if prizes are important, I wonder if we could offer a prize upon completion of these learning style programs to all attendees, like bookstore vouchers or $5 food vouchers or things like that. Small stakes, but still trying to incentivize participation.
Mm-hmm. Like, I know that's something that we want to beef up. I can't emphasize that enough. And I'm hopeful other campuses can. And we ended up saving a good handful of funding due to not having to be on campus. And so hopefully that's something that that's a trend that will continue going into this upcoming school year.
And Brian, we are at time. It is 10:19. And so I want to make sure that we're ending on time so that we can get everybody over to their next session. If you have any closing remarks, go ahead.
None at this time. Thank you for attending. Thank you for sharing in our journey here at CSN within student life and leadership development. Like I said, we started off at 0 and we had to move the needle forward, especially as we have this new virtual world of education. And so we moved it just a little bit. Again, all of our programs were not all successful. I don't want to give you guys that impression, but we saw that the programs that were the most successful were the ones where you can kind of be anonymous of sort, participate online, submit a picture, or if we have the programs about during our cultural heritage months, where students could receive a prize basically for answering their questions. They didn't have to be on campus. They didn't have to formally do too much and things of that sort. So those were very successful. But like Senator Zachary said, some of them where we received 8 to 10 members, some just a little bit less in programs across the campus. But like I said, definitely a year in which we moved the needle just a little bit. We definitely want to move it more for upcoming school years. Thank you again for participating for this past hour and sharing.
Thanks to everybody and enjoy the rest of the sessions for today. And thanks again, Brian, for your presentation. We much appreciate you and sharing your thoughts. I'm going to end the meeting. Everybody enjoy your day.
All righty.